have you ever been in this situation? You pick a hero, you go to browse the build, go public, pick the hottest build there, start buying left to right, and then at a certain point you see there is an optional tab. And you think to yourself, well, when and why do I buy those? Do I need it now? Do I need it later? How optional is that? So if you've ever been in this situation, this video is for you. My name is Lena, and I am not an extremely experienced player. I'm learning Deadlock myself, and I wanted to share what I've learned by analyzing my own gameplay and gameplay of professional players. So, when it comes to builds and items, I see there is two main issues with the builds. So first one, you pick up, and by the way, that's not a jab at the build. My build is very close. This is just the understanding of the build and I guess the arrangement. So the first problem is that when you buy everything from the first two categories, it's already almost 40k. So it says mid-game, but at 40k, you just finished the second category. What are the chances that, let's say you have Wraith on your team and she is 15 to 20k, and you, like, what are the chances she will buy debuff remover or suppressor or slowing hex? If she doesn't know when and where, then she will probably ignore it because she hasn't finished like even half the build yet, not to mention the rest of it. So I think that builds are getting a bit bloated. So my solution to this is my layout. I do plan on releasing builds that I'm confident in. They are not like anything new. This is the standard carry Wraith build, but I am using it. I'm a teacher and I'm using it like as a blackboard, as a visual aid to what I want to share. And the first thing I want to share is to condense build to the most essential items you need. So Tesla for farming, Magnum for damage, and Burstfire Boundless for more DPS, and Fleetfoot so you can chase people down because the Wraith is extremely slow when she shoots. So with this, you have all the items you will ever need to do your job as Wraith in terms of like damage, right? It gives you more options to go into counter items, to defensive items, and gives you more space, like more options to choose what you want from the other categories. I see the game separated in 4 parts. So lane goes from 0 to, let's say, 8 minutes. Early game goes from 8 to around 15. Mid game from 15 to maybe 20, 25. And late from 25 to, let's say, 40. Everything else is just like happens mostly in the lower ranks and like where I am right now, for example. And this is just like ultra luxury, like ultra late game. So I think that builds can benefit from first highlighting the most essential items and then showing what else can you buy, but it's not the most important part. The second problem I see with the regular builds is that it doesn't tell you when to buy those things in the optional tabs. Like there is situational, there is live more, twice, thrice. And if you're a newer player, let's say you have 21k and you think like, do I need to upgrade capacitor for 32? Or do I buy Cornerspell? Or do I buy Spirit Resilience? Or do I get Escalating Resilience? Or like, which one do I go with? So I propose the following solution. So the optional tab takes priority over the tab on the left if you are struggling or if you encounter any kind of hardship and if your gameplay isn't smooth and isn't just steamrolling the opponent. What do I mean? So let's start with a lane. You always buy your regen item first. It's either restorative shot, extra regen, or mystic regen, depending on the hero. For Wraith, restorative shot is usually the most reliable. After that, you need to analyze and to see whether your lane is going well. And you have the easiest indication whether the lane is going well, it's your health bar. If you're constantly at half health, like this, then you're struggling. Then you're trying to heal back with the resto shot and you're getting harassed, etc. And you're staying at around half health. that means you're struggling. And it might not be your fault, might be just a difficult lane matchup. For example, Wraith is not the best laner. She encounters that more often than not. And the first thing you might look into is Healing Right. At 2 minutes, the boxes spawn. So if you're low, you can buy Healing Right, pop it, and then go do the boxes. Ideally, you first push out the wave, and then you go and do the boxes. But sometimes it is harder to do. So perfect scenario, you get all the souls from the current wave, bought Healing Right at 2 minutes, did the boxes. I'm not going to show the optimal routes because the map is subject to change, but the shop, I think, is not. Like, in terms of major changes. We already had the shop overhaul. We also had a map overhaul, but with the map, who knows? I think it's more likely that the map will change than the shop. So you go do the boxes, and you come back before the next wave clashes, or at least before the first troopers of the next wave die, and you get the souls from them too. And obviously you never do that when you need to defend your tower. You first push out the wave, so you don't need to defend the tower. Then you heal while doing the boxes, and it also gives you a sprint speed while it's active, Healing Right. And then you come back. So what if you're struggling with the first part, with pushing out the waves and getting the minions off your tower? In this case, you buy Monster Rounds. Monster Rounds is the highest DPS item you can get for the troopers. And the whole thing about the lane, as far as I can tell from watching pro players and just from seeing all the advice online, is the lane is all about who pushes out the wave first. It's like a race, who can deal with the troopers first. Then, when your troopers are alive and their troopers are down, then they have to go back to the tower, deal with the troopers, and you can either pressure them, and they have to split their attention between the trooper and you, the troopers and you and the souls, or you can go do the boxes or the jungle later on, or rotate to other lanes, etc. So it's all about pushing out the waves as quickly as possible, and Monster Rounds is the best item for that. And later on it will help you take down the towers, because the bonus against NPCs apply to that. It will help you sustain through the jungle. For example, Healing Right and Monster Rounds is almost always enough to sustain through doing denizens, the neutral troopers, like neutral creeps, if we use the Dota terminology. And between the Monster Rounds and the Healing Right, you should be fine, and Resto Shot, or whatever region item you have, you should be fine doing the jungle. The third item I want to talk to you about Rebutal. People sleep on that, and Rebutal, you can think of Rebutal as the training wheel parry item. I'm not the best at parrying, and the best thing about Rebutal is it reduces the cooldown by 2 seconds. So you buy Rebutal, you go for a parry, and if you miss it, then you just try to, like this is, for example, was the hit, but if you miss the parry, then you try to do double jump, wall jump, and by the time you come back, you might already have another parry. So Rebutal also guarantees that you win the melee exchange if you land one parry. Not only does it heal you, it increases the melee damage, on top of it increasing regularly from landing a parry. So with Rebutal, if you're facing Abrams, like Bebop or Dynamo, heroes who are always in your face, because like Dynamo has extremely short range on his kinetic wave, Bebop will hook you, and Abrams will charge at you, right? So they cannot function any other way in the lane. You can buy Rebutal without thinking, but against any other hero, doesn't matter who they are. If you just see that from the first wave, they're showing you that they're willing to punch a lot, especially with the charged punch, then you buy Rebutal and it makes it much easier for you. Okay, so this is the recovery item. You buy them before you finish the first row. So you buy the region item, the first one, and then you buy 1, 2, or all 3 of those before you finish the first row. And like on the example of my guide, it doesn't necessarily have to be for Wraith, like it applies to every hero. So when do you buy the second row? Well, the second row, you buy them before the left side of the second row, right? So this is still the items for the lane mostly. They will help you in the mid game, but they're mostly for the lane and for the early game. So there are a group of heroes that will always try to stun you in the lane. That's Abrams, 7, and Mirage to an extent, whose stuns are not on their ultimates. Reactive Barrier will always give you the benefit. It scales with Spirit and scales really well. So if you're a Spirit hero, you will get even more benefit from Reactive Barrier. And it also gives Spirit resistance, and it has lower cooldown than those abilities you want to avoid. Like the main three culprits, the Abrams Charge, the Bebop Hook, because it works against the Bebop Hook, and the 7 Stun, they all have longer cooldown than Reactive Barrier. So what ends up happening that you have more health after they use that spell on you than you had before that. And that flips the fighting around like every time. So don't sleep on Reactive Barrier. It will also help you against all of the ultimates. Like ultimates that stun you, right? There is like Inferno stun, Holiday Lasso, Wraith stun, etc. So Reactive Barrier will always find a use in the game. It's really hard to find a game where Reactive Barrier will be useless, but there are a few lanes where it will be like a game changer in the lane. The same goes for Spirit Shielding for a different type of heroes. So any hero that likes a Cold Front, and Cold Front is right now the best item in the game. It gives too much. It gives Spirit resistance, it deals damage, it slows, it doesn't have a long cooldown, and it helps you farm because it's in AoE. So any hero that likes Cold Front, your Lash, your Yamato, your Pocket, you will have Spirit Shielding against them, and even though Spirit Shielding cooldown is longer than Cold Front, it still mostly aligns in the lane. You won't be able to lane against like a Lash who just goes on top of the building, jumps down on you with the stomp, then flog Cold Front and just run away. In a couple of seconds he will repeat that, and you will be either forced out of the lane or you will die. Got her. Some reason that. By the way, I would have been dead if not for Spirit Shielding. Moving on to Return Fire. Return Fire is self-explanatory. So Return Fire is good against heroes who have to shoot you. That's Haze, that's Raze, that's Mirage, that's Ivy. They don't have any other sources of damage if they don't shoot you. If you buy it quickly, let's say you buy Regen item, Healing Right, Monster Rounds, and then Return Fire, it will be really good in the lane. Restorative Locket is one of the most slept on items in the game because it gives you 2 stamina points. So not only does it heal you, and you can, if you can do the math, it's easily like 400 health off the bat, but it also scales with Spirit. So let's say if you're a Yamato or any Spirit character, this can easily get to like 1,000. An enemy. Whew! Almost dead. Restorative Locket is also amazing against characters who rely on you being low for something, like Great Talon. He brings you low, then sends in the Owl. You use the locket that you build up from his arrows, and then you survive. Yeah. You thought you had the damage, but you did not. Ow. Rude. Dude. Just very, very rude. The same with Shiv. He spams the knives, and then he goes for a killing blow. You pop the locket like even midair, when he's midair, and he doesn't kill you. And you get stamina to run away. Like, Restorative Locket is absolutely insane if you have like 1 or even 2 characters in the lane who spam the items non-stop. No, not the items, the abilities. Like, Viscous has 3 active abilities, that 2 of them he uses non-stop. Kelvin has 3 active abilities, 2 of them he uses non-stop. Like, Geist will be throwing the bombs and the shards all the time, etc. Fortitude is a bit different, but Fortitude, sometimes you like buy a few items and then you find yourself after like a kill or 2, you find yourself low but sitting on almost 2k. And when you're on like that much gold, gold, Dota habit on that much souls, that many souls, you can push towards Fortitude. This is the best regen item in the game. Obviously, this is a substitute for going back to base. In certain situations, you can buy extra health. It helps a lot. This is extra health, by the way, don't sleep on it. It's extremely efficient, 175 health. It's more efficient when you have, like, let's say we are Wraith that only has 3.2k. The level for this will be level 6, right? 3.4. I am only 1000 health, right? With 2 green items. If I didn't have 2 green items, with 1, I will be at 900 health, right? I'm at 900 health, and buying something like Enchanters gives you 15% effective health only against spirit damage. 15% from 900 is less than 150, and it's only against spirit damage, and extra health is 175. So it's an amazing item overall, and then it upgrades into Fortitude. So sometimes, don't sleep on it, like if you're, let's say, Wraith, you got 2 items, and then you're sitting on like 2k, you're saving for Tesla builds, but you're low. Don't risk it, go for the Fortitude first, stabilize in the lane. For example, if you don't have Healing Right. If you have Healing Right, it's easier to stabilize. But if you don't, you might skip Healing Right and go Fortitude. And this will help you. And overall, like if the laning stage is over and you are looking to rotate, Fortitude is just an amazing item to help you rotate. It gives you speed to rotate and heals you while you're rotating. Keep in mind you cannot do Denizens with Fortitude. They will turn off the cooldown, the healing, but the lane troopers do not. So if you take damage from lane troopers, Fortitude still applies. And it also, by the way, is turned off when you punch the slot machines. So be careful with that. Okay, so what about the defense tab? The defense tab also takes priority over the left tab. So you have your main items to do your job, right? Here I have Haze at 11,000. And then you need to look up at the enemy roster and see what do you need. I mean, the armors are obvious, right? I'm not gonna go like a hero by hero to explain this, but the armors are, you can see what build they have just by the color coding, right? If they have a lot of purple, you go Spirit Resilience. If they have a lot of orange, then you go Escalating Resilience, or for other heroes it will be Bullet Resilience, depending on the enemy builds. But the other items here, Counterspell, Metal Skin, and Debuff Remover, they are not dependent on the builds, they're dependent on the lineup. So Debuff Remover is, out of the 3, the most popular and the most overrated. It is really good, but at a 50-second cooldown, you can only remove 1 thing per team fight. Let's say Infernus builds up his burn on you with Toxic Bullets and maybe Spirit Burn, you remove it, and then you cannot remove anything for the rest of the fight. You cannot remove 7 stun, you cannot remove bombs that Bebop apply to you if you're afraid of double bomb Bebop. You cannot remove any other debuffs like silences or disarms that they throw at you. You're just a sitting duck. That's why for half the situations where you want a debuff remover, you actually want Counterspell. And here I want to take a minute and tell you that I made a Google Doc with all the counter items mentioned here and all the heroes and the intersections between what items are good against what heroes. You can go there and see what interactions you have against what heroes, and like before the game ideally, or maybe you have time while you're dead or while you're going to base during the game. And then you can choose on one of those 3 items which one will be the most useful. The Metal Skin is self-explanatory, right? Anyone who wants to shoot you, it's like a return fire upgrade. It also gives you 15% bullet resist, just straight up, always. It is an amazing item. Don't sleep on Metal Skin. It saves lives, and if you're like playing against Haze, who just slips you the dagger and starts the ult, by the time you jump out of the ult, you will be half dead. With Metal Skin, you can just pop it and just decide on what to do next. The debuff remover is self-explanatory, but the counterspell is honestly the best item in the game. There are a few heroes who are completely screwed over by counterspell and almost removed from the game. So double bomb Bebop cannot exist against counterspell. So you know the sound of the bomb? On the 2nd or 3rd fast beep, you press counterspell and you're fine. Counterspell, basically what it does, it removes you from the map like ethereal shift for the sake of the spells. It doesn't matter what the spell is, whether it's Black Hole, whatever it is. Anything that is a spell or ability and it is affecting you at the moment will be nullified by counterspell. So if you time it right and it lasts for a full second, this is extremely long. You have so much leeway. If you buy counterspell, you would think that it only lasts as long as the animation lasts, but no, it lingers after the purple shield disappears. So you have so much time, like Lash just cannot play the game against counterspell. It's really hard for guys on Mon Krill to get their ults off if you're sharp with the counterspell and you just use it when you're point blank. And for example, you use it and then you dash jump away. And they cannot use, like, wait out the counterspell because you will be now out of their reach unless they have, like, warps on or something. Did they I think she counterspelled Mo's ult, yeah. It is really hard for Lasso to land, for Holiday to land her Lasso, because you can just react to the sound, press counterspell, the Lasso will be nullified. The same goes for the Paradox swap. If you are hit by the time stop from the Carbine, you can just on reaction press counterspell, and you will not get the effect of the swap. The swap will be nullified. So Counterspell keeps all the CC that racks up in the late game in check. Like, no single hero will be able to lock you down with a counterspell. Like, 7 stuns should never apply to you if you have counterspell. The same goes for any delayed explosion. Inferno stun should never be a problem. Ivy stun, if you cannot dash out of the way, should never be a problem. Counterspell is honestly like, half the games I play, I buy counterspell. Like, most of the time when I look at the enemy roster, I think, is this a counterspell game? And half the time the answer is yes, even more than half the time. If there is like Lash and someone else, or 7 and someone else, you can see it in the Google Doc. If there's just Lash or 7 plus whoever it is that it's marked there as green or yellow, counterspell is a good item. After that, you go back to the tab that is on the left, and you can finish the items here. You usually buy only one of those. You rarely need both debuff remover and counterspell. You usually need one. Maybe you need counterspell and metal skin, but usually you buy one of the 3, and maybe one of the armors. Then you can finish the row, and then if needed, you can buy more of the defensive items. With the counter category, it's a bit different. So it is not tied to a certain time in the match, like the late game 25 to 40 minutes tab here. The counter is tied to the feeling, like when someone screws you over once, you open this tab and see if there is an item that can prevent this from happening ever again. So, you know, like Infernus pushes you Walker, you show up to gank him, and he just dashes away. So you think, okay, you little shit, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. And then you buy Slowing Hex for just 1600 and Infernus cannot dash away. And you can, for example, do the Wraith ult, so it will actually connect with him where he is instead of having to, like, seeing your ult flying away to his base while he's dashing away. So Slowing Hex removes all of the, like, it's like a Silence Wave, but half the price for half the abilities, right? There are a few abilities that will still work, like the Dynamo evade, the Viscous Cube, the Ivy Stone Form, but anything movement related, almost anything, like the Mina, sorry, she's not Mira, she's Mina. Mira was in Killer Instinct. She's the Vampire here and Resident Vampire, and her ult is not stopped by Slowing Hex, but most other abilities are stopped by Slowing Hex. So for 1600, it happens to you once, like Lash runs away from you, like with his grapple, and you're like, I don't want to see him just running away for free again, so you buy Slowing Hex. The same goes for Silence Wave. So if you're playing against those heroes that can evade abilities, Dynamo, Ivy, Viscous, etc., like Pocket, you buy Silence Wave, and especially like as Wraith, you first Silence Wave, then send in the Telekinesis, and they will be silenced for a total of 6.5 seconds. Right? Silence Wave for 3, and telekinesis for 3.25. And it also has Spirit Shred. So most heroes who would buy Silence Wave will benefit from this item, Shredding Spirit. So Silence Wave, and it's also an AoE. You can silence multiple heroes so they cannot save each other if you have a good angle. Don't sleep on the Silence Wave. It also has a good build-up. For 1600 you get the damage part of it, right? The Shred, and then for another 1600 you upgrade it into the utility. Knockdown is like the most applicable counter item that isn't a counter spell, right? That you use on the enemy. It screws over so many heroes. And like, first of all the flying heroes, obviously, whether they fly with their ultimates or with their abilities. Knockdown, knockdown. She gave up. And then anything that is like Monkrill Dig or like Viscus's Bowl is not stopped by knockdown, but like Lash's ult can be stopped by knockdown if you're sharp. No, you don't. No, you don't. This is precisely why I buy knockdown. It is not that hard, and even if you don't stop his ult, knockdown is good, for example, against Lash or Viper, because it stops their momentum. When knockdown procs, it's only half a second stun, but it kills all of the momentum you had, and all of the stamina you just spent building momentum is nullified. Curse is self-explanatory. If you don't know what to buy Curse. It's just one button, it's a long cooldown, it's one button to just, you don't get to play the game. Sometimes if you see like, I don't know, a Smurf in the enemy team or someone who's just a giant problem, like 20k souls ahead of everyone, just buy Curse. Like, let's say it's Yamato and she's extremely strong and she relies on her ult, you curse her, you don't let her ult, and that's like, unlike Silence Wave that can be removed with debuff remover, a Curse cannot be removed. So if the curse connects, you cannot use Unstoppable, you cannot use debuff remover, you're just sitting duck, and if they can chain CC, you're dead. Curse is the best if you're a hero that can chain CC, or if your team can chain CC. CC isn't stuns, crowd control. And then there is a Capacitor. Capacitor is probably the most slept on item. Oh yeah, I've said this a couple of times, but that's, I think the awareness of the utility of Capacitor is the lowest among all of the counter items. Capacitor removes a lot of buffs and a lot of things that you don't think are buffs. And it's inconsistent. For example, Talon Flight is a buff, but Vindictive Flight isn't, for some reason. It also removes buffs, as in the damage buffs. For example, Seven just straight up is like deals 0 damage. You remove his Power Surge, and he deals no damage. It to some extent applies to Wraith, but she doesn't rely on full auto as much as like all of Seven's damage, like 90% of his damage is in his Power Surge, because that's what deals spirit damage, that what shreds spirit resistance, that's what he builds and what the scaling he builds for, etc, etc. And Capacitor just removes most of his damage from the equation. Capacitor also removes buffs that they buy. If they buy Metal Skin, you can remove Metal Skin with Capacitor. And even Unstoppable does not protect you from having your Metal Skin removed by the Capacitor. So Capacitor, just in general, if you're struggling against like a Viscous Cube, like he just saves everyone all the time, whoever you go on, you buy Capacitor, you remove the cube. Right? You remove the Kelvin Flight. Right? For example, like Kelvin Flight is a buff, but Monkrill Dig and Viscus's Bowl are not. How does it, like, why is a dig that isn't an ultimate while the skating, which isn't an ultimate either, why they work differently, I don't have an answer for you. But this is, for the most part, how it works with the Capacitor. And after that, after you consider counter items, you have defense, you had survival if needed, then you finish late game item tab and the 60-minute item tab if you have the souls, if the game goes that long. There are a few things that I wanted to mention. First of all, there are no anti-heal items here. And the reason for that is that there are quite a bit of, like, quite a few of them. There is Healbane, there is Toxic Bullets, but there is also Crippling Headshot that reduces healing, and there is Spirit Burn. Some heroes have built-in healing reduction, like Infernus or Viper, and they stack diminishingly. So they do stack, but not as well as you think. Spirit Burn plus Crippling Headshot will be 79%, not 100%. I decided not to mention them because most of the time they don't counter the hero, they counter the build. So let's say Abrams, if he goes full orange items, I never struggle with actually killing him as long as I'm not punched with Life Strike. If Infernus builds Leech, you want Antiheal, but if he hasn't bought it yet, you don't need to rush it, right? And then the same goes for any hero. Like, do you want anti-healing against Viper's Vampiric Burst or Haze's Vampiric Burst? That's like an open question. So I decided that I won't overbloat the build here. It's mostly like utility, but not damage, because anti-healing is, I mean, it's more efficient than buying damage because it applies to all of your team's damage output and the enemy sustain, but you can only increase your own damage. But on the other hand, your own damage applies to all 6 enemies, while anti-heal is usually aimed at 1 or 2. So anti-healing is important, but I decided not put it into this guide. If you disagree, we can, like, the builds are subject to change. If you feel that it is so much, so important, let's think together how we can put it all, like, without, maybe we do an extra category here, like remove it to the left and add anti-heal here, maybe. So we can think about it together. The second thing I wanted to mention is Disarming Hex. It's amazing. It's really good. And the best thing about it that it builds from 800 souls item Rusted Barrel. And this is like suppressor for half the cost. It's not as good. Obviously, it has a cooldown, the duration, it only applies to 1 enemy, but it's only 800 and it builds up into Disarming Hex, which is as good as Metal Skin. Even better if you're, let's say, a backline hero support who can help their team by disarming, like Haze, let's say Haze, who is not shooting you anyway. But I feel like Disarming Hex is the best utilized by supports. So I decided not to put items here that I don't use. For example, I don't use Weapon Shielding. It felt like a good item. I was trying to find room for it, and I found myself never buying it under any circumstances. I decided not to add it here. The same for Disarming Hex. I never buy Disarming Hex. Whenever I think that Haze is a problem, I buy Metal Skin, or like any gun hero is a problem. I buy Metal Skin, not Disarming Hex. But if you're a support, then absolutely do not sleep on Disarming Hex. Remember that it is a really good option starting from the lane, especially if you're facing your Infernus, your Haze, your Wraith, your Mirage in the lane. Don't sleep on the Rusted Barrel, and maybe even add Rusted Barrel to your guide. If, like, I don't play supports all that much, so I don't have guides for them. But if you're like playing supports and you have your own guide, consider putting Rusted Barrel there and then upgrading it into Disarming Hex later. I made the Google document not as just as a like one and done kind of thing. First of all, we don't have all heroes released yet, the new ones, right? They will be staggered. So I will be adding stuff to the document as the heroes are released. And second of all, if you have any comments, if I slept on something in the document, if it slipped my mind, feel free, and I encourage you to message me wherever you can, and we can edit the document together. I won't keep it open to editing as an actual Google document, but I am willing to change and add to it as a community effort. So we have a resource that you can check or show your friends that are confused by the counter items, that you can check and see what works against what heroes. So this is like the general idea of the video. If you have any comments and ideas about the builds, the counters, I will be happy to listen to them and to add to this thing so we can all use it together. I will be publishing some of my builds that I'm confident in. So whatever character you're playing, you can check out Linus and then whatever, like the character in the build browser. And if I'm there, that I was confident to publish the build. And I also stream. So if you want to ask questions like live, come to the live stream and just ask me whatever questions you have. So that is it for this topic. Like, if you disagree, if you think that it was not useful or it was not, like, I'm a teacher, I need feedback. Like, if you think it wasn't educational, it wasn't helpful, it was just yapping for however long minutes it will be after I've done editing, then feel free to just tell me where it needs to be adjusted, and I will be happy to like make version 2.0 if needed. But I think that's it for the video, and I'll see you in the next one.